I really appreciate conversation and community because at the end of the day, it eliminates a lot of the barriers that are imposed socioeconomically on people, especially now when money's tight.
Yes, medical help is great and life-changing, life-altering, but an actual person who's been through the situation, I know that exact feeling. Like there's the complexities of our various injuries. Like you can go deep. We'll be talking here for 6 hours. We could just let it rip. But to have someone like us be a resource for someone is a free, like you said, nonetheless, a free resource. Like what could be better?
I wish the Chronic Couch podcast was around during my injury.
Same.
Yeah, no, seriously. But again, like we want it to be that for somebody this happens to potentially tomorrow. Because if something does happen, there is a space for them now.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Sam Dever Podcast, episode 140. In this episode, I speak with Chris Eversley and Eric Sinsley. This was a phenomenal conversation. I can't wait for you to check it out. To watch this episode, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@thesamdeverpodcast. To listen to this podcast, be sure to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And be sure to check out our sponsor, Produce Your Passion, at produceyourpassion.com. Here's my conversation with Chris and Eric. Chris Eversley, Eric Sinsley, welcome to the Sam Dever Podcast.
Thank you for having us, man.
Appreciate it. No, this is definitely a full circle moment, at least for me personally.
Man, like if we really have to, I guess I'll just start this out. So I was just on your podcast sitting on that couch, on the Chronic Couch podcast. We'll plug that right away.
Right.
And then Chris, you and I got connected because you saw the podcast episode we did with Dr. Saria. And then you and I got connected. And then we've just been in this communication since, and now we're all here in the third dimension. So I'm kind of skipping over a lot of things, but this was meant to happen.
Right to it.
No, it's definitely been, it's been a wild ride. And again, like just solidifying the fact that things are just meant to happen. So connections are meant to be made. And, you know, even in the last 72 hours with you coming to our podcast, us being here on yours, life moves fast.
Yeah. And I'm a big believer in just intuition. And I mean, we were supposed to do it. I knew it was short notice. I'm like, hey, can you guys do this? And you're like, we're there.
Let's do it.
And I'm like, here we go. I'm like, Eric, don't cancel Monday night yet. Like
I almost got Dodger tickets. So you're like, we were like, seriously, I was invited, but I was like, nah, I'm not feeling it.
Because we were supposed to do this.
And Shohei's pitching.
Yeah, I know. No,
Right.
I didn't know that. Otherwise, I probably would have been more likely to say yes, to be honest. I found that out today. I was like, ah, damn. Next time, though.
I like that you got him on the mic too.
Oh yeah. Oh, this has been an evolution.
That's a really cool angle right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks.
This has been you were on the mic for Dr. Saria's episode. Yeah, you were on the mic.
Yeah, I asked him some questions and stuff. Yeah. I'm like
yeah.
the audience because I don't do any research. I don't know anything about any of y'all. Although I did watch your PYP because I edit that.
Yeah,
so I do know a little bit. And I was
Okay.
fascinated. So I hope those stories get shared again.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I noticed you have a Dodger hat on, so I guess you were,
Yeah, I know. Maybe for this guy, I should just turn around backwards.
So I think it's maybe appropriate with a little bit of background here. So maybe let's just start a little bit about both of you guys, how you got out here to LA, and then how you guys met collectively. And we'll just, I'm open to wherever this one's going to go. 'Cause
Sweet.
We're going to go some interesting places. So
Lead off.
Let's let it rip.
let's let it rip.
So I ended up in LA back in 2017. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I moved here for work, entertainment industry. And then that's been a whole journey in and of itself. And then COVID brought me home, kind of wiped me out in terms of work. Moved back in 2022. I had my back injury soon after I moved back. And then fast forward to 2023, I was looking for a run club. It was my first run post first back surgery. And the founder of West Hollywood Run Club was running towards me with a green flyer. And that's how I started West Hollywood Run Club. That's where Chris and I met. And yeah, that's kind of the basis of how we met in my start in LA.
What year was the Run Club thing when you two met?
I think 2023, and I don't know if the cameras can see how Chris is kind of sprawled out right now, but let me tell you, he would show up to run clubs, 3 Mile Loop.
Yeah.
He would show up after we would start. He would just kind of join in parallel, and then he would lap us, like, or maybe he even lapped us twice. I mean, he was always the first one, with his hand out, getting ready to high five as we would all finish, and he's not sweating anymore because he's been waiting there for so damn long. Yeah.
So you took Run Club serious, man. You were like, you came there to.
I didn't. The thing about it is everybody says that, and I just think for me it was at the time I was working in tech, and so I was sitting down all day. And as somebody with a lot of energy, what am I going to do with that? So Run Club on Thursday nights was the outlet. So when I finally got a chance to get out of the house and just kind of let the day go, that was my way to do it. So I just so much pent up energy of being either in the house or going to the office. It was an escape for myself, Eric, and pretty much everybody else out there, because Hannah, the founder, she's done a great job in just building that community. And again, Eric and I were there when it was maybe seven,
Yeah, we were
8
day
people.
ones.
Right, yeah, like
Wow.
very
Yeah.
early days. So it was, we've seen the club grow tremendously. Like the route has even changed, but now they're having sponsors and all these different types of things. But it was something that was just a way to get outside after being indoors all day, and it was kind of just combating that corporate life with this wellness activity, and the fact that it was so socially circled and intentional. That's what made it even better.
It's like, I'm sure you guys, hitting up a restaurant or something afterwards?
I think that's picked up now.
Okay.
Like-
I guess during that time, maybe not as much, right?
Yeah, it was like kind of, I actually do, I haven't run the new, what it's turned into, right? It was an older route. And so, yeah, now it's like become a social thing, where people, they have like sponsored events, or they do like collaborations with like dating companies, like fun stuff like that. But I think when we started, I think what I liked about it the most is like, it's a quick way to be social if you want to. And like what Chris said, it's a great way to, blow off some steam at the end of the day. It's interesting going back to the chronic of it all. I started running after the first surgery, and because of my rehab or lack of rehab that I did after the first back surgery, I think the running mixed with other ailments or whatever was going on caused me to herniate my back. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't know if I will make running a part of my workout, physical fitness forever, in terms of like a 3 mile run. So like for me now, it's like if I can run across the sidewalk, like that's a win for sure.
I relate to that, and we're going to talk injury talk here,
Yeah.
I'm sure soon. But
Yeah.
I used to love going on those long runs too. I did a lot of that.
I mean, there is a such thing as runner's high, and
Absolutely.
I did not experience that because running growing up was always a task, or at school you had to do the mile run, or with athletics it's like it was either a punishment or it was just like it just sucked. So I did learn, and that's a big win, injury or not, is learning the physical benefits, mental benefits of running.
Absolutely. And Chris, bullet point your way to where.
How much time we got?
Yeah, I know. No.
But yeah, born and raised in Chicago. Went to Rice University in Houston for basketball. Didn't work out my freshman year. Transferred out here to San Luis Obispo, to Cal Poly.
Oh, you went to Rice initially.
Initially.
Oh, okay,
so,
interesting.
back in the day. So I spent the year in Houston. That didn't work out. Transferred to San Luis Obispo out here. Finished up in 2014 went overseas, played for 5 years in Asia and Europe, then came back after I retired in 2019. And my first big boy job was I was a director for the YMCA in Westlake Village. So back here, things are going well. I got a first time job, and then COVID hit. Everything shuts down. They lay off everybody. So then I just get into hustle mode because, I mean, as we all know, LA is expensive. So at the time, I was staying by myself in Woodland Hills, but I had two homies moving down here who wanted to all live together in Santa Monica. So I just picked up a tech sales job, and then I was selling I was selling software from honestly 5 a.m. to about 2 p.m. And then I was working at South Beverly Grill from 5 until 11. And then it was just a constant cycle repeat for pretty much, I think, about 5 months. And
What year is this?
this was 2020 that this happened. Yeah, so this is 2020, and then I got laid off in July, and then spent August and September getting into the mix of things, getting the job. So I was back here full time. And fun fact, this is actually something neither one of you know yet, but January of 2021, I was just out for a run because, like we do. And again, there's nobody out. And I was living in Santa Monica at the time, and I was in a neighborhood, and I was running, and I'm in the crosswalk, and this lady runs a stop sign and hits me.
Whoa.
Now, first, I've been hit by a car before. I'm 1-0 versus Ford Explorers. So, yeah, so that was why I couldn't work at the restaurant anymore. So, pretty much, like, that was another injury that I've sustained that is just people are like, what? Like, yeah. So
So we gotta go back. So when you say hit you and you go like flying or like stop, then hit, you can't like how did
no. She wasn't going like 35 or anything.
Okay.
She's probably going like 15 or 20. So she hit me, and then Mike, I didn't fall down. I just like basically took the momentum with me and like just kind of hobbled off because I saw it out of the corner of my eye, and I was thinking to myself, just basic math, this lady doesn't look like she's going to be able to stop in time. So by that point, again, I'm in the crosswalk and there's a stop sign here. So, I mean, law's on my side at least. So I'm thinking like, oh, maybe she'll see it later. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm just keep running, just thinking in my head, oh, she's going to stop. No, takes me, it like hits me. And then, like I said, boom, I kind of hop off a little bit, go sit on the sidewalk. Or obviously the police come, ambulance come, they take statements. And yeah, it just ended up being a whole ordeal. And pretty much that's what kind of took me away from being able to go work at the restaurant. And then I was still doing tech sales, but again, I'm focused on recovery at this point too. And luckily, one of my best friends, who's a founder of another run club here in LA, his name's Dom, and he was working at this company and referred me to come join them. So I joined the tech company in April of 2021, and then I was able to kind of get back on having full-time benefits and the salary and just all of that stuff. So yeah, that was kind of just how I don't want to say it was a smooth landing, but in terms of being so many places all over the years, all right, I'm back in America, I have a stable job, stable income, benefits, as opposed to just being all over the place with fringe benefits or anything like that. So yeah, that was kind of just chapter one of Chris in LA, was with a bang.
I swear stop signs here are green.
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
all the time.
Mm-hmm. They're optional.
Yeah.
They're optional indeed.
Yeah.
Like call it a California roll or not. They just, people don't don't do it.
And all the time on the 101, man, like and even the 405, I mean, dude, I just say why?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Like, why are you, unless you are going to the hospital, life or death situation, you have to get there now. Why are you doing what you're doing? Like, like going in between, it's madness, man.
I always say when I see that happen, whoever I'm in the car with, or if I'm by myself, I'll just tell myself, they're in a rush and we're all going to the same place at the end of the day. So it's like, it's a rather morbid kind of reality. Like we're all going to die. Why are you rushing to make Final Destination 6 and give them potential ammo? But I'm like, nothing is ever that important unless it is a serious emergency. But for the most part, most of your problems can be solved if you just left a couple minutes early. But you can't take that advice. You got to say, no, it's this person's fault. I have road rage. No, just leave 5 to 10 minutes early, get there. So what if you have to hang outside for a couple minutes? At least you're there safely.
There's a lot of truth in that. Like a lot of things can be solved if you just plan more accordingly. And I don't know. I fall victim to it too. The days where you just fall those couple minutes behind, and then it feels like you're just rushing to everything ever since. But then there's the days where you do prepare, and then it's just smooth.
Yeah, exactly. I learned a very valuable lesson in high school. I had to take the train into the city to go to high school and everything. So whenever I was going to be late, I just strolled in 8:15, 8:20. Like I was never going to be the person to be like, oh, 8:01. If I'm going to be late, I'm going to stop. I'm going to give you some
I'm gonna be
snacks. I'm going to give you some, some Arizona iced tea.
That's hilarious.
Right. Like, so that's the approach I take now. Like I'll let whoever, if I'm going to meet somebody, I'll let them know I'm going to be a couple minutes late, but it at least lets me not stress out over what's going on.
That's some wisdom.
That's a
right
skill
there.
though. That's an acquired skill that is like innate. Because I'm the opposite. Like, and I wish I could like be like that, but I'm so OCD when it comes to time that it's probably should be looked into. But I think like, yeah, I think like people here, like Chris said, it's like they're always in a rush, but at what cost? So yeah, I don't really see the point of like people not stopping. Like, people are just into themselves, I guess, here a little bit.
Yeah. That's definitely into themselves and into their cell phones, I would say.
Yes.
Bars indeed.
Well, and there's another part of your guys' tale as we're going to be building this all up here.
Yeah.
We've all been through some injuries here in this room. So maybe again, as we're building up, because I want to get to the chronic couch and everything you guys do with that.
Yeah.
You guys have both experienced some very serious injuries. Could you both tell me a little bit about what happened?
So I was a gymnast for about 20 years, and my problem of why I started the chronic couch with Chris is I had a back injury, and my back pain started at the tail end of my gymnastics career, and you can imagine like all the pounding that happens in that sport. So from the time when you're 4 years old until your 20s, all that pounding and lack of rehab, and I think Chris and I have bonded over the fact that the emphasis of, at least for me, the recovery in sport wasn't as broadcasted when we were growing up as it is now. I think a lot of that has to do with social media. But going back to my back, I would ever so often hurt my back. I would throw my back out. So one instance that comes to mind, during COVID, I helped my brother get a treadmill up the stairs, and that knocked me off my feet for, let's say, a week. Each time you hurt your back, recovery gets worse and worse. Cutting to the day it all imploded, my friend from Atlanta was here visiting. So keep in mind, I've been retired from gymnastics for 7 years at this point. But I would still do my little party trick, do a flip here and there. We're at El Matador Beach. Have you guys been to El Matador?
Where's that at?
It's in Malibu.
Okay.
It's my favorite spot. It's actually funny because you talked about your spot of your leg injury. I still go back to the crime. And so we climbed down a cliff to get to the beach, and I did a flip, and something felt off. And when I landed, I kind of walked out of it like I lost my footing. I was like, I'm gonna do one more. And I do the flip, I land on my feet, and instantly I had this crazy sharp, I can't even explain the pain, go from my toes all the way up to my brain. It was like, I guess being electrocuted is probably the way to understand it. And I like blacked out, and my poor friend just had to witness this, and I was like, no, we need to go. I couldn't breathe. And then by the time I walked back up the cliff, I was doing better. And the next day I kind of just, I was hobbling, I was limping, and it looked like I thought what happened was I thought my hip dislocated because I was so crooked. Um, and I mean, I'll show you the photos. It's crazy. Um, and the next day at 3 a.m., I woke up. Keep in mind, this is my childhood friend. So the fact that that was going on, like that, talk about alignment and timing in life, to have my childhood friend be there for this, uh, meant everything. And so at 3 a.m., I FaceTime my mom. My mom and I are really tight. And she's also was in the medical field for 30 years.
Shout out Debbie.
Chris knows Debbie. She comes through, and I FaceTimed her. So keep in mind, my family's across the country. And I said, Mom, I'm okay, but I'm not okay. Um, and it's time to go to the hospital. I couldn't move my legs. I could feel my legs, but I could not move. And I hopped, for some reason I could I think it was my right leg I could put down, or was it my left leg? I don't know. One of my legs I could not put any weight on. So I hopped on one foot, and like, I can't really breathe. And I wake up my friend, and we go to the hospital. Keep in mind, this is a crazy city. She lives in Georgia, so that was a whole nother thing. It's pitch black out. She has to pull my mini sports car to the back of my apartment. Like, she's trying to navigate through tight lanes. And yeah, we end up in the emergency room. That was hell, because the wheelchairs that they give you at emergency rooms are not conducive to, I should have been given a hospital bed. Sitting is the absolute worst for back injuries. And if there's one thing I could tell a hospital, is like, those wheelchairs are set up for people to fail, especially people who are in an emergency situation. But it was COVID, and I'm like a mess. I'm screaming, and you know, the wait was horrendous in itself. And I'm laying in a hospital bed, and the hospital rooms were totally full. I forget what the regulations were during COVID, but it was like, for some reason I couldn't get a room. So I said the other day to you, I think, I was asking the custodians and janitors for ice packs and heating pads. And so yeah, we did MRIs, and I found out that I had 3 herniated discs on my lower back and a few bulging discs. And it's something that was like, whoa, because I've been putting it off for so long over the years. It was just like subtle back pain here and there. Yeah. And so I forget why we made the decision not to operate in the hospital, but my mom walked me and guided through that. She says, if you can avoid the hospital, like in terms of getting surgeries or like what have you. And yeah, and then I was on a wait for 5 months to get the surgery. They did a discectomy, and because of COVID, my surgeon at the time was with UCLA Health. So that's why when I was pulling up on this street, some PTSD hit me, because the UCLA on the corner there is where I would get all my MRIs and scans, all the imaging and stuff. And so yeah, my friend took me back home. My mom, I couldn't walk. So, and luckily it was on the first floor. So my friend left at like 5 a.m. She left the doors unlocked. My mom got on a flight, so that way she could come in. And for a week, my mom was washing my feet and then changing me. And that was a crazy scenario and life experience, because it should, in my eyes, it should be the other way around. Um, and then we started the whole process of, do you need surgery? Do you not need surgery? So it was an L4, L5 herniation, which is the lower back. And it's probably the most common back injury. And it's in such a troublesome spot because it's where you sit, right? It's like it's your tailbone. And so, I mean, I could talk hours and hours of how hard sitting is now. And so yeah, going back to the incubating period of me and just waiting there 5 months, the whole pain medicine journey started. We can delve into that if you want to.
Quick question. So this whole 5-month period, is it not getting better leading up to this surgery?
I can't remember because then this happened again 2 years later, and I forget which time, but it was hell.
Yeah.
Plain and simple, it was hell. And I couldn't drive because I couldn't sit. It was just like I was just doing the bare minimums of life in order to succeed, in terms of like, okay, you got to get up, you got to walk to the fridge, get a hard-boiled egg, get back in bed. Like that was it for 5 months. And I was working the entire time, which I am convinced saved my life, because it gave me purpose. And working was insane because physically, because I would sit on the edge of my bed like this, and I had my laptop propped up on my tall dresser. I would bang out a story, type, and then I'd lay back down, and then I'd get up and I would do it again. So that was my life for 5 months, and I walked every day. That was when I would do like 40,000 miles with my 40,000 steps.
I was about to say, damn.
No. No, I would not be sitting here, man.
Feet then just tore off, boy.
Yeah, I'd be long gone. But my toes would just be clenched because I was in so much effing pain, and I would just walk. And yeah, I mean, it was wild. And then I had the surgery. I scored an awesome surgeon at UCLA, Dr. Beckett. UCLA sucked in terms of bedside manner and patient care. And fast forward, I rehabbed. I don't know how much you want to know about my rehab, but I rehabbed not as long as I probably should have, but right, we live and we learn. And so I reherniated 2 years later, and this one was worse. And it was kind of a deja vu thing. It was, but even worse because it was happening again. And then, you question yourself, did I inflict this upon myself? Why is my body doing this? And my degenerative disc disease was so bad that my back just like could not withstand or withhold all of the trauma that was inflicted on it from the years and years of pounding. And backing up to my gymnastics, the pounding events, floor and vault, were my best events. And so yeah, it happened again, and I was supposed to. My surgeon moved, and I followed him to his private practice. He's down by the beach here in Marina del Rey. And why he is so great is because he does not resort to surgery. He really takes you down your possible rehab or routes to ultimately feeling your best. But I came back down here, had my imaging done. Keep in mind, when this is all happening, I'm laying in the back of Ubers. It's like it's a whole thing, which I'm sure you can relate to. And I think when you hurt your leg, you were shuttled in the back of a car, right?
Precious cargo, baby.
See? Came
Precious
through.
I just got to
cargo.
interject real quick in my relation because I didn't tell this story on your
Yeah.
guys' podcast, but the Chronic Couch. Once again, I'm just going to keep
We
throwing
hear
that
it.
Plug
in
it,
there.
man. Plug
Yeah,
it.
we're going to keep plugging it. My first physical therapy appointment, my brother actually was out here and took me to. God bless him. He has like an SUV type car, and we just didn't know what to do. Like I didn't know. We got down the stairs that you guys came up here, and I couldn't sit up. Like I couldn't even. So I literally just laid in the back of the SUV, and he goes into the physical therapy place because my brother's here for physical therapy. What do we do? Like, well, where's he at? He's like, he's laying in the back of the SUV, and I was on walker status. The walker, not even cane. Yeah, we were pure walker before even crutches and all that.
I know that life.
So yeah,
I know the
you
walker
said that,
life.
and I just had a flashback. There's gonna be lots of flashbacks during this episode.
Exactly.
Look, I'm getting a little misty-eyed just us sitting here talking about it and me having to rehash this story, but I think it's important, right? It's like when something bad happens and you hit that wound, it's like, fuck. And even to this day, sometimes when I touch my scar on my back, I get a little emotional because it's just people who have gone through, I'm going to speak on back injuries. It is, I've ruptured my Achilles, I've torn my knee, I've done my elbow, all the things, but this is like back injury is like no other, right? Your spine holds you up. It's what attaches, your whole body. And so back to my surgery story, I was supposed to have a disc replacement. And which that was, I'm sure you guys know, like a foreign object being in your body is kind of a weird thing to process. And I think that's for me when it hit like, yo, you did some shit to your body. Like your body's fucked from your sport. And the night, my dad's out here, he flies in because my mom got COVID. She was supposed to come. She came and took care of me the first time, and then my dad was on deck. I'm like, shit. But no, he was great. He came through, and then my mom came in, but the night before my scheduled L4, L5 disc replacement, my insurance denied the claim. And, this is round 2 and 5 months in, and that was like a punch to the gut and so disappointing. And I know that my surgeon and his team did everything they could leading up to that moment. And at that time, it's when my surgeon is advocating for me and he's going to bat for me and go to battle with the insurance company. And unfortunately, it didn't work out in my favor, but as I continue and tell you my story, maybe the stars were aligned that way because I went in, I had to wait 2 more weeks, and those were the worst 2 weeks ever. And I went in for another L4, L5 discectomy. So for those of you who don't know, basically think of your back discs like jelly donuts. My jelly had all been, spewed out. And I have less than half of my jelly left. I think I have like 10 or 20% now. So they take this second one, they take out like this big of a herniation. And when your disc herniates, that's what is pushing against your nerve roots. Yeah, your nerve roots. And that's what causes the intense nerve pain. And yeah, so we did the L4, L5 discectomy, and that surgery got infected, and that was wild. I know you can understand the infection, but I got really, really sick, and my entire back filled up with fluid, and it was really hot, and I had the fever. So they went in and they cleaned it up, and here we are.
Wow.
8 months post-op.
So it's been 8 months since the last thing. And so how long would you say it's been where like you felt like good enough to like go out and walk and
Today,
more like yourself a little bit?
I feel like I've come back to myself maybe in the past like 6 weeks, and I think there's many factors that go into it. Just learning how to rehab, learning about things that I don't want to say work because I'm still, in pain, but things that have helped alleviate some of the pain. Um, so, massage therapy. And I think the other thing that has helped is I started an antidepressant called duloxetine, which is specifically meant, or generic for Cymbalta, is specifically meant to help with chronic pain and nerve pain. So I think that has helped. Um, yeah, it's been a wild ride, and luckily I met Chris through Run Club, and I don't know, definitely some time had gone by, and I saw him posting about his injury and his leg injury, and it just really hit home for me. I respected how much, you know, it's for me, it's like it's hard to like put that on your social media platform, and I that's a whole nother issue with like gymnastics sports stuff, and I just respected it. And I don't know, it was really interesting how he documented it and how he informed people about what was going on. I don't know, there was something so authentic about it because it's like this guy's hurt, like he got hurt, and I saw him posting about it, and I definitely sent him my well wishes just because I felt for you. But then you know, going back to the first time I hurt my back, I documented everything like this when I was on my walks, and I was explaining the pain and talking about what nerve pain is. Um, I still have not looked at those videos, but I definitely want to do something with them, I think. As you can see, I'm a creative person and I use creative outlets to help. And I think how Chris used his social media as an outlet and I don't know, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but at that time, I don't think you were, uh, your focus was to help people because you were in the thick of it, man, right?
Yeah. I think it was because I actually started something called Summit Seeker. And I started that when I was in rehab. So like I'm in the hospital, external fixator in my leg. There's video evidence of like the first two episodes of the vlog are actually me in a hospital bed because again I couldn't walk,
Yeah, I remember.
couldn't stand up, and I'm just sitting there with this big ass 1970s fro and a beard that looks bullshitty because I haven't been able to get to a damn barber recently. But yeah, I mean I think the reason why I started documenting it is because with each passing week I started realizing how rare the injury was. So if I would have just torn my ACL, nobody
Yes.
gives a damn,
Yeah.
right? Like people will tear their ACLs every single day. But with this, the more doctor's visits and the more follow-ups that I kept having, everybody was perplexed at how it even happened to begin with. So I was like, this is something worth documenting. And similar to what we share with the chronic couches, I couldn't find anything from people in it. It was always a situation where somebody had made it past the finish
And
line
they're telling their story.
and they're telling a story, which again is great. But for somebody who doesn't even know how long the race is, I needed something to get out because at least it gave me something to do. It gave me something to look forward to I think I was releasing them like every 10 days or something like that. Cause it was like, all right, I can record this. And it gives me another way to tell that time is passing besides just the fact that football is coming on. Because I was just in such a place mentally where the only way I knew time was passing is because college football kept coming on. But other than that, I was in a hospital bed with the old 1980s TV setup I mean, the only thing that got me through the month of October, no bullshit, was the Halloween marathons that they had going on. So what I got to look forward to tonight. Michael Myers gonna be on the block. Freddy Krueger gonna be on the block. So it's just like trying to find ways to just keep going, right? So again, whether it's your situations where one of the interesting parts I think that I would say is one of my favorite parts about your story is when you were talking about on the chronic couch about you had the device to talk the way he had to type. You want to talk about
Yeah,
that?
yeah. My friend who witnessed the flip, she would call me and she would see me, I couldn't even lay with a pillow behind my neck. Like I had to be flat. And uh so I was just staring at the ceiling for 5 months, and she sent me these glasses that they reflect what you're looking, because I was typing. So they would reflect so you could see. But going back to Chris's story, it was weird because it was like he was a social bud, right? Like we would see each other maybe once a week, and I just got really connected to his story, and I gave him some time, and I want to say how far post op were you when I first hit you up?
This would have been post surgery too, so maybe about like a month. Yeah, a month probably. So this is like January, February,
Okay.
because I think the surgery I had the fasciotomy closed up the first week of December, and then we had started talking about this in like middle of January.
And he throws out all these terms now, and I'm starting to learn because he's soaked up so much of this process for him, as have I, and it really treats you a lot about the actual physicality of your body. But instead of doing something with the videos, because I don't know what to do with them, of me documenting my journey of being in the depths of pain, I wrote down 10 episode ideas for a podcast, and things that and this is what I would do when I wasn't working all day and night because I wasn't sleeping. I was documenting all this and writing it down, and after the first tier of my back issues, I put 5 months of content into 10 episodes of headlining chronic pain and back injuries. And I pitched it to Chris because I was just I knew it was something I did not want to do solo, because I think for certain situations and certain stories that you're trying to convey to your following or convey to whoever's watching or listening, or just simply for yourself, I think having a second person helps tell the story a lot better and stronger, and also gives his perspective, because I was so invested in what he was going through. I'm like, two dudes that are injured and hurt, former athletes, like I think that's it. No, I know that's it. That is going to be what we're going to bring to the table and to the forefront. He'll share his perspective, I'll share my perspective, his injuries, my injuries. We're going to probably bond over and connect with over certain similar ailments that we're going through. And there was born the Chronic Couch. And yeah, it's been really rewarding. And this guy's a freaking genius. And the way he spits out like all the tech stuff of it, right? Because I come from producing and entertainment and writing, and it really worked out. It was like the stars were definitely aligned there, and it's been very therapeutic and cathartic to talk to people like yourself. So yeah, that's how the Chronic Couch came to life.
Sounds like you two are very complimentary
Yeah.
to each
Yeah,
other.
like
Yeah.
little things too, like when we do interviews, like I know he's gonna have really good follow-up questions. So like I'm not always good at like a follow-up because I'm kind of I kind of just soak up the info and sometimes I don't give back. I'm just kind of digesting and observing, and so he's really good at things like that. Yeah, the chronic couch.
The chronic couch.
And I think now is a great segue. Is Chris, how did you get on the chronic couch? Because
Man, let me tell y'all about this shit.
you two both had really severe injuries, but different injuries. So
Yeah.
what is your tale, my friend?
Well, for our viewers out there, saddle in. I think the one thing I think is super important for people to know is just some basic metrics. And you and I have our common injury, which is a knee dislocation. Now, for people out there, knee dislocations account for less than 1% of all orthopedic injuries. So there's one knee dislocation per 100,000 people. So that alone in itself is really hard to do because if you think about it from a physiological standpoint, the amount of force that you have to exert to dislocate your knee is damn near impossible to do when you're not in a horrific car accident where you have so much force and inertia working against you. You and I have broken scientific minds and doing it just by being active. So for me, I've never been an underachiever in anything. So when I dislocated my knee, I just said, why not take everything else with it? So I was just out playing basketball with some friends and I'll circumvent a lot of this and just leave the high level version of it. But I planned it wrong, non-contact, dislocated my knee, and immediately my leg kind of went numb. So the mechanism of injury is I was running down the court and just planned it wrong. My knee hyperextended backwards. And
Did you see it?
yeah, so that's the crazy thing. So do y'all remember those things we had as a kid where it was those? I remember mine was Toy Story, where you could put the film in, and when you bring the thing in, like it's like a shutter, a shutter situation.
saw
So
it
I saw that.
flash.
So it was weird because it was like a scene in a movie where I saw the knee. I saw it hyperextend, and then it went black, and then when it came back to, my leg was in, and then when it shut off again, the leg was out, and then I had like barrel rolled, and then it went black again, and then when I rolled over, I came back to. So it was this shudder of images in a really weird horror movie type of way, and again, we're athletes. We've been around people that tear their ACLs, tear Achilles, jam fingers, whatever it is. And when something is sleep offable and when something is serious. The fact that my leg was completely numb, I knew it was serious because I had never heard anybody say, I can't feel my leg. Anytime you saying that, you got an issue. So a couple of the homies helped me into the back of my girlfriend's car. She shoots down attendees, gets me to Kaiser, West LA, right there in Culver City. I go in there. Doctor comes in. She's like, well, what happened? I'm like, oh, well, I can't feel my leg. And she's like, well, we need to take some tests. So they come in and they take me upstairs to do a CT scan. So they go in and like, well, we really can't see anything because there's so much swelling. And, my leg is starting to really swell up to the point that it's starting to get concerning, right? And we have a mutual friend with Nacho who was another guest on the Chronic Couch. And, that is whenever you get that, it's called compartment syndrome. And what happens is the amount of space that your muscles have to contract is severely limited because there's a lot of blood pulling up in a certain area. So your skin has a certain level of elasticity to it, which will allow it to stretch. So if you do this, you can see that it stretches. However, with your legs, because your calf muscles are going to be pretty large and not allow that much elasticity, whenever you get compartment syndrome in your biceps or your calves, there's not that much wiggle room to begin with. So you're already in a race against time. And once your leg starts to swell internally, it's just a ticking time bomb because every passing hour you get necrosis, which is tissue death. So that's where the worry comes into where if you don't act immediately or within the first 12 hours of somebody having compartment syndrome, each hour that passes is essentially a percentage of your leg that has to be amputated because the tissue death is that fast. So
What's going through your head when you're looking at your leg
What-
in that moment in time?
yeah, I mean, just honestly, pain. I think I remember just being similar to you in a hospital wheelchair, which is A, not comfortable, and then B, not fit for taller people or just larger people. Which, that's a whole nother topic, but we can touch on that later when we get to rehab. But just pain. I mean, I know that obviously it hurts, but I really didn't conceptualize what was going on because as an athlete, for me, one thing I always did whenever I rolled an ankle, jammed a finger, you know, tore a ligament in my ankle or something like that is I always created or I had created this place in high school where I go to mentally whenever I get injured or tweak an ankle, where it's like this, it's a place that I manifest in my mind where it's a room that I go into that's just completely dark where I can just be in this moment for however long I need to be here until I can come back out and come to. So it's essentially a built-in coping mechanism, right? So I I'm in that space and the vascular surgeon comes in. He's like, we need to check for a pulse because your leg is starting to get cold. And that's what really worries me. So I'm like, okay, well, do what you got to do. They come in with the Doppler. He's checking all around and he's like, okay, you don't have the pulse where your artery should be, but your blood flow has actually been diverted to two small capillary arteries that's the only thing keeping blood flow to your foot right now is the fact that you've somehow occluded this main artery in your body that is a branch of your femoral artery, which is the largest in the body. You somehow not only occluded that, but diverted it to these two smaller capillary arteries that are keeping your foot together. So we need to take some more tests. We need to take some blood tests, see what's going on. But my guess is we're going to have to go into surgery tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, well, yeah, surgery, no big deal. Just, drain it, drain
Do
the
what
knee.
you got to do.
Exactly. Drain the knee, drain the calf, whatever you need to do. And then he was like, no, it's unfortunately not that simple because you have compartment syndrome and because you have lack of blood flow to your leg, this isn't as simple as let's go drain it. It's as complicated as we have to put amputation on the table. And I'm thinking to myself, hell no. I just was playing basketball similar to Jamie Foxx released a special about his situation. And he was talking about when he had his stroke. I'm Jamie Foxx. Like, this doesn't happen to me. I got all the money in the world. I've never been a bad person. Similar to me, I mean, I don't have all the money in the world, but I mean, I've been a pretty good person my entire life. And I just think to myself, I'm like, no way. Like, how is this even comprehensible to something so simple? It's not like I was in a motorcycle accident. It's not like I was in a horrific car crash. This is something that is statistically next to impossible. And I'm thinking that. So to hear him say that, he was like, I don't know how this happened, but we have to play with the hand that we're dealt. So they put me up in the hospital. The next morning he comes in, 4:30. He's like, Chris, I was up all night. I was on the phones. I was on the internet doing research. Something tells me we got to go to surgery right now. I'm like, all right, cool. So he slates me for this first surgery. I think it's at 7:30 a.m. He's like, what I don't want to happen is when everybody else gets in here, we don't want to push the surgery back to noon because that period of time could be the difference in you waking up with the leg and you not waking up with the leg. So I'm like, well, shit, let's go. So they bring in, they load you up with the pre-op drugs and they take me down to the pre-op room and he's like, all right, well, we're going to operate. And I, sign the waiver. And then all of a sudden this other doctor runs out of nowhere. Are you Chris? Yeah. What's up? We need to have you sign this paperwork because we got to put you on an external fixator. What the fuck is an external fixator? Again, at the time, all new medical terminology to me. So he's like, well, long story short, we're going to just have to put this brace on your leg. And I'm like, okay, cool. Do what you got to do. I'm already past the point of, bro, just get me in there because I know we're on the clock. So they rolled me into surgery. I tell my vascular surgeon, I was like, I need you to make me 2 promises if you can. Let me keep my leg and let me be able to walk again. I won't get greedy. He's like, I'll do my best. Lights out. Wake up 10 hours later, which was supposed to be a 4.5 hour surgery. Wake up 10 hours later, sweating like all hell. I'm sitting there, I'm talking fourth quarter sweat. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why am I in so much pain and why am I sweating? And they're like rolling me back into the room. And I'm kind of groggy coming to, and they roll me back into my hospital room, and my parents are sitting there. And I remember I see my mom and my dad, and the first question I asked is, what the hell did they do to me in there? Because at the time, again, I'm still kind of like here, and I have the sheet on, and the shape is weird. It doesn't look like my leg, but I also can't really feel anything. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is this? So then I take the curtain back, and the external fixator is 4 long ass rods implanted into my femur and my fibula, connected by an array of just like I think they're maybe like some sort of plastic at the top. But the reason why is because they didn't want me bending my knee. So part of the blood flow issue was what happened in the surgery was it went longer than expected, because not only did they have to perform a fasciotomy, which is they cut you on both sides of your calf to give your muscles room to basically be free. So that in itself is a problem, because when you have that much blood that's been pent up for, at this point, 8 hours, it's a lot of blood. So that alone, I lost enough blood to basically kill me, because it had been pent up for that long and it was so pressurized. Imagine if you shake up a Coke and you open it. That's exactly what happened with my leg. So all the blood came out, whatever. Then they had to do what's called a bypass graft. So since I had blocked that artery, just like in any other coronary artery or bypass with your heart, what they do is they usually take what's called your great saphenous vein. So it spans from your knee all the way up to your hip, and it's responsible for blood flow to your lower leg. But it's not a redundant vein, but it's a vein that they use for bypasses, because it has a high patency, because it's yours. So similar, when you have an ACL surgery, you have a choice between a cadaver or your own. Most people choose to go their own because it has a higher chance of taking. So people are given the same option when they have bypasses. You can use the great saphenous vein, which is mainly sensory and for flow, but you have a lot of other veins that flow blood to your leg. So they take that, and they can't take a piece of it. They have to take the whole thing. So basically, if you think about it, for the fasciotomy, you can't see it because I have pants on, but basically they unzipped me from my calf all the way to my hip. And they took the great saphenous vein. What they do is they take it out and they cut a piece of it and use it as a bypass to go in there. The first one didn't take. So then the second part, they cut it again, and then they go in there with the cameras, they suture it together, and the second one took. So then I have blood flow restored to my leg, although, very faint, but they got it going. So once they finish with the bypass graft and the fasciotomy, in a normal situation, what happens with the fasciotomy is they cut you open, release the pressure, then they close it. I have naturally large calves, so they couldn't close it. When I woke up, they just said, Chris, well, you're going to have to wait till this closes itself, or at least gets a little bit closer, and the muscle, your skin grows over the muscle itself, and then we can try to get to it. But it'll be a delayed closure is what they call it in medical terms. So calf is still open, just outside my body. I have this large ass unzipped, and I'm stapled all the way from my calf to my hip. And I have this external fixator in. Now, this external fixator is insane because, again, you have 4 very long rods that have just been drilled into your leg. And the reason they do that is because when you dislocate your knee, not only do they have to reset the knee so you can't move it, but for me, the reason I had it for an extended period of time is because if I would have bent my knee too early, it would have disrupted the graft, and I would have been shit out of luck, and I would have potentially lost it. So they said, you know what? it's going to suck, but we have to put you in this for 6 weeks. And we know it's not going to be comfortable, but you want to be comfortable. You want to save your leg from potentially us having to take it away. Pretty easy opinion pretty easy option rather for me to go through. So yeah, when I wake up, I'm back in the room. Fast forward a little bit, and I asked my parents, well, what the hell did they do to me? And I asked the nurse, why am I sweating so much? She was like, well, you were out for 10 hours. We had to bypass the general anesthetic and give you fentanyl. So they gave me the hardcore shit because I was out like a light, and woke up obviously sweating profusely. And then, you get the heparin drip, you get all the different ones, the IVs and stuff like that. And I just remember thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, I come to probably about an hour and a half later when everything kind of wears off. And I'm just like, this shit sucks. My leg is stuck straight. I'm unzipped and stapled. And for some weird reason, I don't have sensation still in this foot and in this shin. I'm like, well, wasn't that supposed to fix the problem? And similar to your story, Sam, oh yeah, you got peroneal nerve palsy. Check it out. And I'm like, wait, y'all didn't fix that? And they're like, well, no, because we wanted to save your life first. We wanted to save your leg second. And the nerve situation, we explored it, and it appears as though the nerve is still intact. So what that means is just wait it out. We'll see how it returns. But honestly, as much as it sucks to say, the nerve is the least of your worries right now, because you're not out of the woods yet in terms of being able to stay alive and all these things. And, when they start showing your charts and iron is low, hemoglobin's low, I go into an anemic state, like all these different things. And yeah, so pretty much spent a weekend in ICU, just being monitored. And then I get a spot at Hollywood Press Rehab Facility, and they send me over there. And originally, and we've had our conversation about insurance, originally they sent me over there for 7 days. So similar to PT, they give you an allotment and you have to go back and you get your re-up. I stayed in rehab for 5 weeks. And every Saturday, shout out to my girl Melba, who was the caseworker over there, she had to get on the call and argue with insurance to say, no, he can't go home right now. Because if he goes home right now and anything happens, y'all are screwed, we're screwed. It's cheaper for y'all to just keep him here versus anything potentially happening down the road. So, like I said, with being in rehab, it was 3 hours of therapy a day. And again, this is why I was kind of Groundhog Day, because I knew every morning I would wake up, get breakfast at 7. My guy Sam would come in. He is the PT, the primary PT on my case. He comes in, we do our exercise. They take me down to the gym, and then I come back. 11 o'clock is another one. And then in the afternoon, I have occupational therapy. So she's coming in, I'm like washing myself and giving myself like a bed bath, because at the time, again, I can't stand. So the worst part about that entire experience was, again, like Eric had mentioned, the emasculation as a grown ass man who's been to 30 countries, who's made good money doing something he loved, having to have his ass wiped by a nurse was the most difficult thing I had to deal with. Because again, we take it for granted, going to the bathroom, sitting down. Oh, all right, even if you miss, wipe the toilet seat, bending down to clean up behind the toilet, stuff like that. When you have to turn and like get up on the stool, right? The stool they give you in the bedpan rather. And like the thing about it too is you're on so many medications. You have to also take Docusate, which is a stool softener, because for lack of a better phrase, you're shitting bricks.
Yeah,
because it's
pain medicine.
Pain medicine is
Constipating.
your body's like, what are you doing? So you're just shitting bricks, and like having the Docusate, literally having to soften your stool so you can even pass it. And what you don't want to do is get Valsalva, which is when you essentially, like when you're straining really hard, you can burst blood vessels, but you can also detach you can get detached from your retina. Because if you ever notice when you're really straining for something, or like at the gym, you'll notice that like your vision kind of locks in a little bit. If you push past that point, you'll actually detach your retina. Yeah. So fun fact, I found that out. So if you're ever on the toilet or in between sets or on that major set, relax.
I'm never going to do any of those things the same now that you just said that.
No, exactly, because it presents a whole nother challenge for you. And oddly enough, my PT, he had one of them, he had that happen. And he was just talking about like, yeah, because then they have to go in, they have to go behind your eye, detach, reattach, and do all these types of things. So it was very interesting to just kind of be in that environment, because not only am I learning so much about the human body, but I'm realizing the importance of supplements and the right ones, because I'm realizing as I'm taking these supplements that are responsible for X, Y, and Z, they're showing up in the results on my blood tests that are coming up. And yeah, I mean, like I said, spent shit probably like, what was I got discharged right before Halloween. And then I just remember getting back to the apartment, and they wheel me in because I'm on a stretcher, and they just roll me on the couch, and I'm there until further notice. And that is actually the answer to your original question of how I ended up on the chronic couch, because that very couch is where Eric and I podcast from.
Whoa.
You like that little
Full circle, man.
I try to always bring it back. You know what I'm saying?
So when they brought you, are you still have to keep your legs straight at that point when you're going home, or now are you able to move a little bit more?
Well, yeah.
freely?
So once I think I went over to Kaiser and I got the X Fix taken out, um, and they just wrapped the leg afterwards. So I was able to kind of get it. But the crazy thing about it is you're given a choice when you take the X Fix out. You can either go into the operating room, or you can just have them take it out. I just said, you know what, bro, take it out. I don't want to schedule an operation. Give me some lidocaine, if whatever it is. At this point, honestly, up until that point, I had felt what the most pain I had ever felt in my life. So I'm like, bro, just they literally go in there, and it's like carpentry. They come in with some pliers and some gloves, and they detach the plastic parts at the top. So then you just have these rods in your leg, and they literally unscrew them out of your leg. So you feel the unscrewing going through muscles all the way through. So like down here on my shin bone, you feel it coming through. Fun fact, during the initial surgery, when they were putting the X Fix in, one of the tips of the metal pieces broke off in my tibia, and it's just there now. Like I'm just always gonna have it. So it's just kind of like hanging out, but it's not large enough to where I can still go through MRIs and scans at the airport. But when they took the two out from up here, whew, because again, it's at that point it's so much scar tissue, and they're just basically it's like a screw being taken out of your muscle. So you're going through muscle, you're going through bone, all the way out, and then they just take them out and put them on the table, and that's pretty much about it. But the one thing that I think is interesting about orthopedics is they're basically just carpenters with doctorate degrees. Because if you ever look at an ACL surgery or any sort of tendon surgery, the tools are tools they've been using for decades. It's a very simple process, but the medicine has just gotten a lot better. So, now it's it could be robotics and stuff like that. But true orthopedics is basically just carpentry with an MD at the end.
I found it very interesting how you described the mental place where you go when you were in such extreme pain. You said you went to you go to a dark room.
It's a room in the house that we talk about, the house metaphor, right? And I think for me, the way I view myself is I am this house, and each hobby of mine or each emotion of mine has a room in that house. So metaphorically speaking, wellness and recovery, that's my bedroom, my space. My DJ room, it is this space over here. And the rooms actually shift sizes depending on the focus at the moment. So that room is my attic. It's always there, never changes shape, but it's necessary to have in the house for the dark days where you need to go when the other rooms are just shape shifting in square footage.
And I'm really glad you told me about this because I'm still learning really knowledgeable things from this guy. I have always said, like, when I was going through my stuff and I was in the intense extreme pain, I would go to a different dimension. So in some way it relates to what you're saying. It's just that kind of tells you the different aspects and personalities that we bring. We have different ways of how we see things, how we explain things. And I think when the three of us who have been through some traumatic injuries, it's nonstop, not only knowledge gain, but you're learning a lot about yourself and about I love the talk about mental health and society. And I think it's super important, but when you are, I don't think what society covers is what we've been through, which is the extreme intense pain. Like you said, it's not an ACL or an MCL or, a broken arm. It's like, no, it's mentally draining. And I think that's why, what the three of us are doing is just really, really good.
No.
Only good can come from this.
No, very well said. And you both have said several things. It's like, oh, do I go this way? Do I go that way?
Yeah.
Right.
Eric, what you said about working during your injury and having purpose, I related to that a lot because, like I said, I was working for my company at the time and I had my still day stuff I was doing. It just gave me that focus. It gave me that drive, this, that, and the other. And Chris, not to TMI the audience out there too much, but I related all too well in the going to the bathroom thing. Because like when I first came here in this very apartment, Eric Jorgensen, who took me in here, here's your pee bottles. Oh, no problem. I'll piss in that all day long. But you got to defecate too.
But you do.
And I wasn't even thinking because you're on so much stuff. But then it got to about day 4 or 5, and it actually started to become a concern because I hadn't gone yet. And then you get in like this mental game, like, well, what happens if that doesn't happen? And like, blah, blah, blah. And eventually it did.
Yeah.
But again, it's like, we take it for granted. Like you're saying, like basic bodily functions, like again, lifting your foot up and down. I never even thought in my life that could be taken away like that. And when they tell me you have peroneal nerve palsy, you can no longer do this anymore. It's like, that's all you think about. And then you think about all the other things in your body that you don't, lifting your finger, anything, how we take that all for granted. So it's definitely, it's just, and even like, it's crazy having this conversation with you guys. Cause again, a lot of these things it's been years now. And now it's like, no, it's still fresh. Like as soon as both of you are saying things, like all these things are popping up.
Yeah.
I think we've talked a lot about acceptance, and I think I think the three of us and people who have chronic injuries, like there's a reason why it's called chronic, or hopefully Chris will make a big rebound, but I think it's gonna be a lifelong thing that we're navigating mentally. I know for me, I'm gonna have a bad back for the rest of my life. I gotta ask you for pillows, for my back. So I think acceptance is the hardest part of whatever injury, you have.
To piggyback off that, because as you're telling these stories, and I may have said this a little bit on your guys' podcast, the Chronic Couch podcast.
Let's go.
We're gonna just get people to search that.
Let's go.
TCC
Links in the description. Links in the description. I'm a very prideful person too. I'm one of those like I can do it. No, I don't need help with that. I'll move it. But like I remember so many times thinking, no, I can do this, and then you just realize you can't. So you just have to help.
Yeah.
Help. I need help with this. I need help with that. Can you help me get this? Can you help me get that? And you just have to. It really taught me a lesson of, I think receiving. Like look, sometimes you're in positions where you have to be the one to ask for the help, and you got to put all of your pride to the side.
Yeah. I think one thing that you brought up on our podcast the other night, and I kind of just want to echo it here, is when you go through stuff like this, it makes you aware of other people going through stuff like this. So
Like truly.
truly, right? Like you empathize with them because you see people on crutches, you see people in wheelchairs, you see people that are they have these devastating, debilitating injuries, and you really just kind of see it for what it is. And it's kind of like what we talked about the other day about how when something bad happens to you and there's no lasting effect, you kind of forget about it. So, you sprain an ankle, whatever. You spill some coffee, damn, okay. But 10 minutes later, you're on to something else. But the gift and the curse of chronic injuries is yes, they may be some of the worst things that can happen to the human body. But on the bright side, we do have and will have these scars and these feelings, or in our case, loss of sensation that won't ever come back. But that's to say, don't forget what you went through because you may be able to relay that into another story to help somebody else down the day. So I just wish more people wouldn't have to go through something so traumatic to come to that realization. But sometimes you do. The world will force you to slow down and be in line with what I think is the most important thing in community. Because when we go back to just talking about whether it's PT, OT, mental therapy, therapy, it can be expensive and it can be a barrier to entry for people that need basic care, but conversation is free. The ability to ask somebody about a situation that they're going through is free. So acknowledging your situation, accepting your situation, and putting your ego aside to get the help that you need is, I think, one of the things that I've enjoyed the most about this journey. Because even I had no intention of, when I started Summit Seeker, I didn't care. I was just doing it for me, similar to what Eric drew up the damn chronic couch on a crumbled piece of paper now, but he was doing it for him because like, okay, I need to get this out. And in the first season, and now as we make our way through season 2, the fact that we're having people reach out to ask about nerve pain, and somebody will come to me and say, I messed up my back. I shoot them right to Eric because Eric knows what the deal is. I'm not the back guy. Eric, the back guy. So, it's just that community. And I really appreciate conversation and community because at the end of the day, it eliminates a lot of the barriers that are imposed socioeconomically on people, especially now when money's tight.
Yes, medical help is great and, life-changing, life-altering, but an actual person who's been through the situation, like, no, I know that exact feeling. Like there's the complexities of our various injuries. Like you can go deep. We'll be talking here for 6 hours. We could just let it rip. But to have someone like us be a resource for someone is a free, like you said, nonetheless, a free resource. Like what could be better?
I wish the Chronic Couch podcast was around during my injury.
Same.
Yeah, no, seriously. But again, like we want it to be that for somebody this happens to potentially tomorrow, because if something does happen, there is a space for them now.
And something, yeah, and that leads me to the mental health part of it. Because I remember it's something I think I said on your guys' podcast. I had so many people reach out and go, "Well, if it was going to happen to anyone, you're the one that can do it." And I'm like, thanks.
Right, exactly.
I took it as a compliment, but I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. But it is this lonely space when you're there. Like it's just, and Chris, I relate all too well when you're like, the doctor's telling you this information. You don't believe it when you're first hearing this. You're like, what? I didn't do anything. I just was jogging. I didn't jump off a 20-foot deck or why is it? Why is this happening? And it's something I didn't say on your guys. I think I don't really think I ever got to that dark depression place with it, just because I knew if I would, that it would do me no good. Like it absolutely would do no good. Like, have you guys seen the first Batman, Christopher Nolan's Batman?
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
I do the Christian Bale when he gets thrown in the cave,
Mm-hmm.
the well or whatever,
Yep.
and there's no rope, and you got to figure out how to get. That's kind of how it was. Like it's like, man, how am I getting out of this one?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how am I going to get out of this? And just those little, just literally taking it day by day, little wins, those little, even the little luxuries. Like we used to, so this is like during wintertime, like these blinds, we'd get done with our, Eric would be in this room, I'd be out here. And then the sun would start to set, and that'd be our signal to fold the laptops, shut the blinds. And he's like, all right, what are we cooking for dinner? And he'd cook us dinner, and like, what movie are we watching? We'd watch it right on there in that TV. And like, that was my joy.
Mm-hmm.
I think as athletes, you grow up with a routine, and that, luckily for me, and I would think you would say the same, routine has the way routine has transferred into rehabbing back to life, right? Because when you're in the thick of it, it's like you can't see anything yet. You can't see any light or any life because you are, you're bound to the bed or you're in a hospital bed. So the coming back to life can be challenging in itself too, because right, you're a different person. Not only time has passed by, but you're a different person because of the injury. So you're not going to live life how you did pre-injury. So navigating through that too is a whole nother journey, as well.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say, because the great Batman reference, by the way, and the reason why, because it's important to say this, because we talked about this before on and off the air, and so have you and I, Sam, but like the importance of people in your corner when shit does go wrong. So the reason I say the Batman relevance is because that doctor that was in the caves with him, nursing him back to health and saying, no, you're not ready yet. Him trying to get up, no, you're not ready yet. And eventually, after time and time again, he had somebody in his corner that said, no, you're not ready yet, and would push him every so often, get himself together until he made that jump to get out. And then we already know what happened. So, really appreciating the people that are around you, because I got some very good advice when I was in rehab from one of my teammates. And he said, the people around you are going to be the most important right now. And you need to let them know ahead of time that you're sorry. I'm like, for what? Because they're going to be punching bags. Because there's going to be days where you're going to be frustrated and you're just going to be mad at the world, and they're just going to have to sit there and take it and just say, I feel you, I hear you. And that's just their place. Their place isn't to go in your leg and fix anything. Their place is to sit there and hear you out. So I say that because even if you're not injured, take precedence in being that person for somebody else. Because as in our case, we may look fine, but we've been through hell and back with our injuries, and you don't know what anybody's going through on a day-to-day basis. So, the people that are in your corner are so important, because they, in a way that a mother's love is unconditional, you can have unconditional friendship too, where y'all have been down some dark paths together and there's still no judgment. You can go at somebody off the rails because you're frustrated and they know it's not personal. Mm-hmm. So the more people you can surround yourself like that, the better. But that's not to say go create a whole team of those people, because then you sacrifice the quality. So having your inner circle, however many people that you think that is, maybe one person, maybe two, ideally no more than 5, in my opinion, and expertise, but solidifying those relationships where you can be the worst version of yourself and they won't leave.
I think that goes back to the conversation the three of us had last week on the Chronic Couch, is the simpler things in life and how you really genuinely appreciate them after you've been through something. Like what you said about being, so grateful for your inner circle, and there's true meaning into your inner circle, right? Because some of us might have a larger circle, but the value really is within the inner circle, and walking and going outside and smelling good things, or it as challenging as it is, I think it's a marathon, and you learn things along the way.
Yeah.
And actually, like this conversation I had on your guys' podcast, the Chronic Couch podcast.
The Chronic Couch podcast.
Take a drink of whatever every time you hear the Chronic Couch podcast during this episode. It's reminding me, like, man, even someone said something too. It was pretty wise what they said, because it was like right as I was starting to get out of the injury and starting to do a little more again, they said, yeah, always remember this, because it's very easy. Like, we just go back to life again. And so again, we talked about this by having these little nagging things, like, that happened. That's still there. But yeah, I'm just reminding myself, yeah, I have been too caught up in my phone. I have been too distracted. I got to remember this can all get shut off at any moment. And you're not going to care about any of it. You're not going to, when you get hurt to the level we've been hurt, you don't care about a thing. Literally, it was almost like just a wipe, a memory wipe.
Yeah.
For at least a good 2-3 months, it was just like, oh yeah, all that stuff you thought gone, like instantly. Now I'm just thinking about, can I make it to the bathroom?
Yeah.
Like, what do we do next? And while I have it on my mind, Eric, my neighbor who helped me, he said his mentality was just do what's needed. So you talk about that unconditional love, like not trying to force anything. Just, you need ice, we're going to get ice. I mean, it was so bad. The pain was so bad in the beginning. I don't know if I've publicly talked about this, but he would like rub my pressure points on my hands, because that's how bad that nerve pain was that first month. And it was Walking Dead for me. That was my
Shout out Michonne if you're out there somewhere.
The oxymoron in that too, The Walking Dead, is kind of
and Chris, you said something too. I think acknowledging, yes, the nurses are amazing, the doctors are amazing, the medical people in the medical system are truly amazing, but you know, talking about those people that are fighting for you on the phone, those are some unsung heroes right there. Like those people that are going to bat for you in these, no, he needs this. He needs this therapy. He needs to stay in the hospital one night longer, like all that stuff.
And I will say something that is very important as to why that happens, because the way you treat people determines how they show up for you in your absence. So again, I'm not in the office with her on the phone, but she's still going to bat for me, because I made it a point every single day, every single person I came in contact with when I was in rehab, I always thought to myself, similar to Jamie Foxx, if I can find humor in this, I'll be able to make it through. So every single day they would come in and they would unwrap my leg, clean it, and rewrap it. I was playing music. We were there, everybody knew we going to the dance party today. Dance party at 12:30 today, Chris. You already know. Doctor comes in. Doc, what's going on? Oh man, Doc, you know what I'm saying? I just feel a little tired today. Legs still ain't working, but it's cool. You know what I'm saying? But just stuff like that. But you don't realize that people in the medical field right next door, they could be dealing with somebody who's A, unconscious, so they don't get the conversation, or B, is a complete asshole. So why am I going to make your life harder and more difficult than it has to be, than what you're already dealing with? So the more you can invite people into your energy and then decide whatever medium you need. Again, for me, it was comedy and humor. Like I want to make people laugh. I want us all to be having a good time. I don't care if my calf is hanging outside my body. I want to know what Korean dramas y'all watching, so I can watch some shit when I'm in here, because I'm tired of watching Michael Myers kill everybody. You know what I'm saying? So I think, like, for me, it's just the power of people. It has always lit me up. So it just gives you a way to make people feel valued and making them asking questions about their day. Because I'm not sure if y'all were like this, but I had a very unhealthy obsession with social media, not because I was just on my phone all day scrolling. No, because I was loving the fact that I was seeing my friends out living life, because that was my gateway past these walls I'm looking at right now. And, I'm getting to see, like, oh, you're out here in Turkey, or you out here in Japan. Like, I loved it, because I'm looking like, no, like, send me some stuff, because that was my only gateway to the outside world. Because at the time I couldn't even go outside because they were worried about infections. So I'm just in the hospital.
You needed life
24/7. I needed life. Right. And I think that, people find solace in the strangest things when they're depressed. And when I was depressed, I was finding solace in the most random shit that I would have never thought about. Like, again, I didn't care about Korean dramas, but I cared about Korean dramas when I was in hospital because my nurses cared about Korean dramas. And that gave us a point of rapport to say, oh, what's going on? What did such and such do in last night's episode? And they just feel so much more invested in you because you actually give a damn about them. So even if it's not within the confines of a hospital, make sure you're remembering certain details about people that matter. Because again, you putting that tiny investment is going to be responded or reciprocated tenfold in a situation where your name could be brought up and they're either defending you or they are advocating for you for a promotion, a raise, or anything that, you know, networks provide nowadays.
It really is an alternate universe, like being in a hospital or going to get a MRI scan. It's foreign. It's like a foreign space because I think you're seeing all these instruments and staff wearing scrubs doing life-altering things, right? So your mindset is just different.
Yeah.
And speaking of mindset, I know the people on the camera can't see this, but Carolyn Dweck's mindset book over there, I see it.
Good eye, my
Growth,
friend.
Growth mindset. You want to show the
Look at
camera?
that.
There it is, right there.
What an eye.
15 vision is still booming over here.
I'm like, damn, should I get on that?
Right? No, it's definitely
Yeah.
no. That's
a
a game.
must read.
It's a game changer book for sure.
You're taking it home with you. Just
This is what we do. We
pardon the
give
dust.
Dude,
the Sam Dever
man.
podcast giving out gifts.
Oh, you're leaving with something too. So take a look when we
Thank
get
you,
out of
man.
here.
I'm still looking.
Yeah.
But no, that
That's
was
just bookshelf one. I got
Oh yeah, but that's actually it's a great read for people that are out there listening because if you're struggling or Carol Dweck, sorry, not Carolyn, or I that was something that I read from I was talking to Bill McNabb, who was Vanguard, you know, super business financial magnate. I had a chance to talk to him one-on-one. And he told me about this book and he just said, you need to read it because he's actually a former athlete. And he's like, you'll really relate with it. And it just teaches you the importance of a growth mindset. And, you know, a lot of people, unbeknownst to themselves, unfortunately, are on the fixed mindset. And that is, I'm worried about myself. And we referred to it earlier, but I call it main character syndrome. You're the main character in your own story. And that is all that matters. There is no best supporting actor, no best supporting actress, no score, no cinematography, none of that. It's Chris Eversley, the movie, and that's it. I'm playing all the parts. That's the fixed mindset. That is you being so self-absorbed with yourself, and it's especially exacerbated here in LA because of everything that's so facetious about the image. But if you step out of that and step into the growth mindset, even for a day, and you take simple mindset strategies that she talks about, that I talk about in speeches and stages and stuff like that, you realize you start to see this shift in how much more capable you are as a person because you realize you can't do it alone and you shouldn't do it alone. So growth mindset is not only the growth within yourself, but growth in terms of the team that you're surrounding yourself with. So the old saying is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That is the epitome of a growth mindset because you're getting outside of your skin and saying, I need to grow, which means I need to learn from other people that have done other things. There's a reason why Denzel Washington still goes to acting classes, even this far in the game, because if he goes and he learns one tiny trick that he can put in Equalizer 16, guess what? He's going to do it. And he's not afraid or doesn't have the ego to say, I'm going to go sit in the back of this class and learn from people who are coming up.
That was fire right there.
Hey man, appreciate it.
You know that's getting clipped.
Go ahead and clip it.
So I was going to ask you, so what's, and there's several things, and we could talk 10 hours on this, but what's the number one thing for both of you that you took out of your injuries? Whether it was just a learning lesson, a perspective. What was your number one takeaway? And I know we're all still kind of dealing with it, but what's your number one takeaway?
I think for me, it would be kind of just piggybacking off what we kind of just talked about. The simple things in life are really where it's at and what's important. So now every time I'm like a big Thanksgiving guy, right? That's my holiday. So now when I go back and see my family, it's like, or we have a trip, it's like I describe it as a Thanksgiving because it's just, when you're going through injury and pain, you just learn really what's important. Yeah, a new pair of Chucks is cool, or getting a promotion, or you know the positive things that come in life. But I think just walking away knowing that you're not going to be unscathed, but understanding and really genuinely grasping onto the important shit.
I love that. How about you, Chris?
I'm gonna get a little greedy because I got two.
Okay. Get
a
greedy.
little preface there. So the first thing is we touched on it a little bit tonight, but kind of put it on a bow for people. Grace and space. You have to be able to give yourself grace for your situation. Not every day is going to be the same, especially in a recovery process. And that's a linear process. When you have a non-linear injury like we do, then you have to understand that you have to give your body the grace it needs, because the more you stress out about the things you can't control, a la nerve growth, the more cortisol your body's going to release and stress you out, which will undoubtedly increase weight gain and drive you to an early grave. So isolation and stress, two of the things that killed a lot of people during COVID, because they're two of the most damning things we have in society today. And space, knowing to play, I equate it to a pulley system, because some days you're going to need to take more space. Other days you're going to need to give more space. So if you look at it in terms of, all right, my body needs some space today, I'm not going to go hit the gym because I woke up a little sore. Oh, I'm feeling good today, I can get after it. My aura ring said I got an 87, so I'm good to go. I'm going to take up some more space for myself. And then tomorrow it's just a constant seesaw. So playing this game of grace and space is super important. And the second one is probably finding a way to turn your pain into purpose. And I know you and I have talked about this, but pain is going to happen in life. Unfortunately, life is not fair. We are three prime examples of that. But if you can find a way to somehow take that pain and turn it into purpose, not only for yourself, but for someone else out there, and it could be one person, it could be a million people, but you'll find that it's so much more productive for you, speaking of growth mindset, and just effective in being cathartic and getting things out. But you start to realize that it gives you a way to manage your pain, because you're going through what I call the three T's. When I speak on stages, I refer people to the three T's. You're going to have tragedy, you're going to have transition, and you're going to have triumph. If you take those three things, that is your pain to purpose flywheel, and you let it go. So if you look at that, all the greatest books, or some of the greatest books in history, they're in acts: Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. You have to have the entire set to make the book. So whatever chapter or whatever book of pain this is for you, turn it into purpose for yourself to come back to, or somebody else out there that may be going into something or going through something.
You really do learn a lot going through something crazy like we've gone through. And what's the number? 3 billion? I think I said 3 billion people. That was the first thing I researched when I did this chronic couch.
The chronic couch.
Maybe it was 3 billion nerves, but I think there's like 1 billion people who have chronic pain. And so I think you highlighting turning pain into purpose is something that, I mean, look, you're doing it right now by Produce Your Passion. It's like you can't just sit in the feeling of stress and pain, because it's a killer. So that's why we wanted to do the chronic couch, because we're like, we just can't sit here like this anymore physically. And so let's put out our experience and help people.
I love that, man.
And that's another thing. So I will say this. The one thing that I think people appreciate more than anything, especially out here in LA, is authenticity. So,
And that's what I saw in your post.
but I ain't cutting shit. Like if I might use CapCut, maybe, but I'm here. I might trim off the beginning of the video while I'm looking into the camera hella crazy. But
Yeah,
other
I'm
than
like,
that,
yo, Chris, you just cut off the last second.
exactly, or something like, but it's like we pride ourselves on it, but we joke about it when we started. We were like, look, this is going to be a very no budget, not low budget, a very no budget production. And we want people to see that. We want there to be the octa moments where we're like, oh, mic's off or stuff like that, because it humanizes you. Because I think when everything's so dressed up for social media, people just lob you on with everything else.
And that stuff is dope too, like for sure.
No,
But
hey, listen, don't get me wrong. I'm the first person to tell you I appreciate video editors and everything they do. I just think when you are looking at something so raw, I think it's not only provides a sense of humor to the context, but it just shows you, like, again, we always the way we preface it is we're just two dudes on the couch talking about injuries.
and someone who's in TV and film, I'm staring at and making all the tailored stuff all day long. And the way we've gone about doing the chronic couch is like I'm just proud of it. I'm proud of us for doing it. Every episode, I'm like, this is an accomplishment. For instance, today I wasn't having the best of days, but got myself outside, and then I saw our episode that's dropping tomorrow with an awesome doctor. Maybe it'll be next week. That it just has made it's eased the physical pain for sure, and the mental pain 100 times.
It's about those little wins, right? And I got to interject. You guys are producing your passion.
Yeah,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Produce.
There it is. Available
the official
now.
sponsor of the Sam Dever podcast.
Available now.
But no, I mean, it is. That's what you guys.
Produceyourpassion.com.
Thank you for that. But no, you guys. I think too, for people in these situations, they're not going to care if you're shooting 24 frames a second. They're not going to care that you got like they want the info, man. So I think it's beautiful what you're doing, and you guys just say, we're just going to do this. So
It was that selfie in the hospital bed that I was like, that's some real shit. So I got my real shit. So other people out there must have their real shit. So let's let it rip, and let's talk our shit out and help people.
Hell yeah, Eric Sarich, you got anything over there?
Yeah, so many Erics being talked about.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah,
yeah.
editing question. Since you've already plugged Produce Your Passion, do we want the insert of it on this episode?
Oh, yeah. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Sam Dever podcast. I hope you're enjoying the show. I just wanted to take a quick minute to tell you about my new project called Produce Your Passion. Produce Your Passion is a creative platform for people to overcome obstacles and bring their visions to life and become their most authentic selves. We have a brand new website. It's produceyourpassion.com, and there you will find coaching services. You will find another podcast called Produce Your Passion. I wrote a book. You can download it for free, or you can get it on Amazon. We have an online store where you can get Produce Your Passion gear and a whole lot more. Check it out, produceyourpassion.com. Now, back to the podcast. Oh, was there more? Or?
No, that was it. That's it, man. That was my contribution.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for coming on, guys.
Of course.
Love the setup. I'm taking it all in for sure.
Yeah, well, and this is. I mean, I've had some moments even during this conversation. And thanks you. It's summertime, by the way. Anyone watching this in the wintertime in the future. These guys, I said it'd be a little hot in here. We're getting to that point. We'll be getting to the end here, but we're athletes.
Chilling. No, this is solid.
Exactly. And the one thing I was looking at, just to kind of refresh my brain with injuries and stuff. I don't know. Maybe you guys can. I'm sure you can relate to this. Whenever I am going through something I'm getting frustrated over, if it's computer stuff or something on YouTube or like work stuff, whatever, I do have several times where I'll go, wait a minute. Do you remember when you were sitting in that corner right over there and you were in just severe pain and you didn't know what was going to happen and blah, blah, blah? you can handle whatever's happening
For
right
sure.
now. That has given me, I think, a forever perspective. And I have to shout this out. When this first happened, a friend of mine had called me, and they had been through a pretty serious injury before. And I'll never forget this. They said, this is going to be one of the most beautiful, transformative experiences of your life. And at the time, I'm like, I really? Because this hurts pretty bad right now. And they were like, no, just it's going to be a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, but you are going to come out a completely different person, and you're going to realize that it wouldn't have happened any other way. And I do have perspective on that. Definitely, certainly not the same person for sure.
No, exactly. I mean, I think that's, if we just go out into nature, right, and we look at the transition between a caterpillar to a larvae to a butterfly, right? We're in that moment where you're stuck in the cocoon, right? You feel like you can't really do anything, and eventually you grow out, you become a butterfly, and in some communities, I know it's prevalent in the suicide community, or the people look at the butterfly as a symbolism of a new beginning. So it's, a butterfly, and what I've usually seen it stylized is they'll have the butterfly wings, but the body of the butterfly is actually a semicolon, because what it is the first half of your life was this complete thought. You go through your event, you go through your situation, and then you finish with another completely different but relevant thought to finish your story. So, I mean, that transition is what's the most important thing to remember for people, because when you find yourself in some shit, this is just your semicolon moment. This is your pause. This is your transition. Now write the best fucking half a second of the sentence, second half of the sentence that you can write.
Did you just come up with that, or you had that on deck?
Now, you know what?
Because you haven't spit
I'm
that
telling
one
you,
yet.
this is why I think I'm gonna be good on these stages, because I just come up with this shit.
Oh, dude, you're gonna be phenomenal, man. Phenomenal.
Dude, you're killing it, man.
Appreciate it.
Dude, I'm ready to just stand up and start.
They gotta hit.
So, as we round out here, as I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to put myself back in that place. I want to get both your twos taken. You both have already given so many things for people to take in. For that person sitting in that hospital bed right now, about to go into that surgery, going through that rehab, et cetera, that is going through it right now, or it just happened to them. What advice do you both have for that person right now, where they're just, there is no light at the end of the tunnel, they're in total shock? What can you say to them right now?
I would say if you're lying in a hospital bed, do your very best to be present and know that, there's a bigger reason for why this is happening. You might not know it yet, and it might take you a long time to get there, but just do your best to be present and, keep it moving. And, all you have is yourself. So really lean on your inner self and trust your gut, and try your best to have a smile along the way, and tell the people that are around you that you love them, and thank you.
Love that. Chris, what would you say?
Educate yourself. That is the number one thing I would tell anybody who's in a situation like the one you've explained, because there's only so much knowledge that is going to be given to you, because you're only allotted a certain amount of time with the doctor, because they have so many patients. So if you are in a hospital bed, you need to know your injury inside and out, no pun intended. You need to understand why this happened, what are the repercussions, what are the long-term effects, what should not be looking to, what am I accepting and denying in terms of treatments. You need to educate yourself and essentially equip yourself for battle against the non-essential bullshit that you're fed in the medical system at times, because they'll say, oh, you need the surgery. Eric already told you that's not always the case, but it's the quickest way to get you up out of here. Whereas, no, I'm going to sit my ass down here because I know I shouldn't be going to surgery, because I've educated myself on the situation. Because the one thing you have ample of is time. if you're in a hospital bed or if you're in rehab or whatever it is. Educate yourself on what's going on in your body. And when you educate yourself, that is when you start to find people like yourself, which is how we got connected. So if you get all the medicinal knowledge that you can get on your situation, you're more likely than not in today's day and age, when you get on Google, you'll be led to somebody that's going through it or somebody that's out there struggling with the same thing. And again, circling back to community. Once you can educate yourself, you can communicate and then build with somebody that can be able to help you with what I like to call advice from the future.
I love that.
Bars.
Boy. clips.
This topic the topic of chronic pain, injury, sports has so many tentacles, and the conversation goes so many ways. Then you add a little THC in there and it can go even farther.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, different strokes for different
It really
folks,
is like that. And that's what's so exciting about what we're doing is like, you talk to one guest and that sparks an idea. You talk to us and then you remembered all these things that you went through yourself. And
You could do a whole season just on therapies. Like you could literally just do different seasons of different realms of injuries and recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of just creating, right? And again, it's when you open it up to the community, because I know for damn sure people were tired of hearing of us just from all of season one. But when we open up to guests, it opens up the realm to not only more discussions, but more experiences, more community, more recovery culture is a term that I think is super important. And it's something that you can learn from, you can take from, you can invest in. And if you think about it as this ecosystem that is constantly growing and evolving because people are going through different things, whether it's a sprained ankle, back surgeries, you want to, similar to a chat GPT, upload everything to a hive mind and be able to have conversations and pull from different things. So, that's essentially what we're building on the Chronic Couch, is this hive mind of experiences, because our guests, they're going to have a variety of different things that Eric and I hopefully may never encounter, but there's going to be somebody in a hospital bed 2 years from now that is going to go back and say, damn, I need to find these guys. And then
it's really fully encompassing.
Right. They're on a situation like this.
And that's what's surreal about this experience is that, like literally, like when we did the episode with Dr. Surya, it was in hopes of getting the word out, like just getting
it worked.
Yeah.
It
And
worked.
then Chris reaches out, and like I said, I felt a duty. I mean, it's cool as hell. Like I said, our first conversation was a podcast.
And then for real. Exactly.
But then here we are. We all live in Los Angeles. We all went through this in Los Angeles too. That's kind of interesting. I was actually thinking of that. And I think that helped, at least for me, because it just, LA, it's there's stuff going on. So it's like, you turn into a project, an art piece rather.
Yeah, I think we've definitely been chewed up and spit out, but and that happens in LA all the time. But I think I'm biased, but I think this is a good place to heal. If you can get out in nature, which I know my guy Chris has been doing a little bit more. It's been
hell yeah.
It's been really good to see you out in Venice and get out there, man.
Throw in some sangria and I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as I want to get people to the Chronic Couch. So what's the future of the Chronic Couch? Where do you guys immediately see it going right now? Where can people find it? Where can they find you guys? And then we'll get final thoughts and we'll get out of here.
I'm actually excited to hear what you have to say about the future. Yeah, I mean, I think the future for the Chronic Couch can only be good. If that means a video gets 13 views or if it gets 1,000 views. I think right now it's so new that the possibilities are endless, I would say. And it's been very rewarding and cathartic, like I've said. Hit us up on YouTube. The Chronic Couch. We're on all social media. And the beauty of us right now in our situations in life, because again, this is a passion project for both of us. One week we might shoot twice. The next week we might not shoot at all. One week he wakes up and his legs all jacked up and he's got to go to the urgent care.
It's a real story, by the way.
It's like real stuff happening in real time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been the thing that is the most authentic about it, because again, that happened last week, and you know, we kind of just take it as is. So that's why we try to aim to have episodes out every Tuesday, but sometimes life just gets in the way. And there's other times where we'll make lemons out of lemonade. Like when he was on vacation with his family, well, shit, we need a mom's episode. So just stuff like that. We try to keep it as organic as possible because it is a passion project. And it's the authenticity shines when you're not making it out of desperation, which I think is a big issue with a lot of people in content creation. I have to create this to get these views. I have to create this to get this money. We, as your audience, can tell you're making this to get this money. We don't like that. We want to go where the authenticity is. We want to go hang out with the guys on the couch where they don't care if they get 13 million views or they get 13 views. They don't give a damn. They just want to help people.
Yep.
And that's what I think makes me super excited about the future, because tying back to your question, even in the run of episodes we've had for season 2 and just bringing in guests, man, this shit is going to be special, right? Even like I said, even if it's a situation where, you know, we have like Nacho, who is amputee, went through divorce, you know, early death in his family, your situation where you and I have a common thread injury, the doctor that we just had on. I think providing so many resources, but the variety of them is the most important part. So again, we're regular people, but no, we got a board certified urologist episode about to drop that's going to talk about everything from erectile dysfunction to stress to pelvic floor exercises, all the things that have been taboo for men for decades. And we're going to get into other people that are into psychedelics and get other people, like, just so many different types of ways to educate people, so that hopefully when we zoom out in a couple years, everybody can look at our catalog and say, that was where I found my help. That is the episode that really made a difference in me going to PT today rather than sitting my ass at home and bullshitting. So, you know, continue to build that is the most exciting part. And, you know, I think seeing people, kind of to wrap it up full circle here, is, again, I found you through your podcast talking to Dr. Sharia. There's going to be somebody out there that reaches out to us when they hear from this urologist, because, oh, wow, here's an actual person talking about what I'm going through. This person is a real person that I can reach out to. It's not WebMD. It's not ChatGPT. It's somebody that I can actually physically and tangibly get in touch with and interact with. And that is what I'm going to wake up for every day and fight for.
Yeah, he drops the mic. He's a professional mic dropper.
Man, you're gonna just have like a bucket full of mics. You just breaking them left and right.
Yeah.
But no, this has been a true treat having you guys. I really appreciate the opportunity again to go on your show, The Chronic Couch.
The Chronic Couch.
Hopefully someone in the comments will actually write how many times we have said it. That'll be there's a good call to action. Anyone watching or listening,
right,
who's made it to the end here, how many times was The Chronic Couch said?
This is true. It's, yeah, in audibly and inaudibly.
Yeah. But no, and I'm just grateful to be connected to you guys and just to continue to keep the conversation going. I think you guys are doing an amazing thing. It's helping a lot of people. Keep it up. Yeah, I know we're all still going. Do you guys, recovery wise, for where you guys are both at with your injuries, if you feel comfortable sharing, what's personally in your recovery journey, what's the next steps for you guys?
I am a day by day. I mean, you can see I'm like, you know, I'm always squirming, and I'm just trying to figure out how to not squirm is kind of my day to day. You know, some days are worse than others. but you know, it's also an expensive thing, is trying to figure out your plan of action. Um, so one week maybe I can do a massage, and then, you know, next week I'm gonna cold plunge. So again, I think that's another big perk of being in the city of LA is like, yes, that shit is aesthetically always in your goddamn face, but lean into it and see if it helps. And then if it doesn't, okay, you tried that, let's explore another avenue. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I'll say it again until I'm blue in the face. I'm just gonna get outside as much as I can. Yeah.
I'm gonna go throwback for my people out there. Domino's Pizza Tracker. They received the order. Now they're making the pizza. So that puts me at around 40% on my way to completion. Because as you know, I just had my fourth surgery. So the original 10-hour, the fasciotomy closure, the nerve decompression and expiration, then the nerve transfer. Those are four very big surgeries for me to only be 40%. But keep in mind, my ACL is still torn. My LCL is still torn. The nerve still has to do its thing and travel its path. My popliteus tendon is torn, and then my hamstring is also still torn. So I haven't even gotten to the carpenters yet. Like they still got to go in there. And again, I just think I was having this conversation with my PT earlier. If I would have just torn my ACL, I would be returning to sport now. I'm 9 months in, and I'm still only 40% of the way to go. So the fact that I've come so far and I still have more than halfway to go, it's frustrating to a lot of people. But one of the ways that I'm wired is I look at it as a challenge every day because I find the purpose in, okay, well, how can I be better this week? I'm back in the pool this week, aqua therapy, get in the water, trying something new. So finding ways to win the game within the game is the only way to win the marathon because each mile is going to be different and each mile is going to present a different challenge. But you know, at the end of the day, that 26.2 is there, but compound interest isn't just for your portfolio, it's for your efforts.
Domino's Pizza Tracker. That is, you have some of the best analogies, by the
And
way.
they come like that.
He,
too.
no, he does it so quick, like so fast. I'm glad I was able to throw that Batman one in there. Though.
Yeah, I got
you,
but,
right.
see, but he improved it because I forgot about the doctor
He'll
dude.
one up you.
Yeah, he's like, well, that was
100%.
good, but you could have been better if you
Yeah,
would have. Well, gentlemen, this has been spectacular. Eric, any last final words for us? Eric.
Yeah, right.
Lots of Erics were dropped in this episode.
This is true. Shout out to all the Erics.
Yeah. So I give always give people the last word. So, and I think we didn't do individual shout outs. So if you want to shout out where people can find you individually, anything you have going on,
Yeah.
and your final word, and then we'll go to you, Chris.
I'm on social media at Eric Sinsley. And I guess my final word would be to piggyback off what you said in recovery is I'm still struggling with the nerve pain. So anyone in your world or arena who is figuring that out, I would say that's still my biggest complaint. And then that ties in with sleep. So I want to get like a sleep doctor on. So anyone who's listening, like come on the chronic couch and let's make some good.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. You can find me everywhere. I tell everybody I ain't hard to find at Chris Eversley on Instagram. And when you go there, you'll see all the other things that I got going on, the random side quest that I'm on just nowadays. And final word would be appreciation. Just trying to keep it within the confines, right? I think there's a lot to be appreciative for, but a lot of people just choose not to pay attention. So again, on a regular day basis, 10 months ago, I would have seen somebody on a walker, on a crutch, in a wheelchair, wouldn't have thought twice. That moment of, damn, I feel bad for them a little bit, but I go on about my business. Now, I appreciate that journey because I know how hard it was for that person to get into that wheelchair, or I know how hard it was for that person to get up and get out into public. And we didn't even get into being are reintegrating ourselves back into our social lives. But that is another huge thing that is super important. So appreciate where you've been, appreciate where you are, and appreciate where you'll go.
Amazing. You are right about the social life thing. You got a minute on that?
Of course, let's get. Yeah, like I said, let's. We here.
got it.
Right.
Yeah. We got a few minutes left. Yeah.
But the social aspect of it is super important because you find yourself not wanting to deal with anybody when you're depressed. And again, I thought I had known depression before, but it had been depressive days, or they were episodes in the season. But for me, I lived an entire depressive series with multiple seasons because, again, from September 17th, 2024 till January 1st, 2025, I didn't want to do anything. I don't want to see anybody but 5 people. I want to see my parents. I want to see 2 of my best friends, and I want to see my girlfriend. That was it. Like, I didn't want anything to do with anybody. But what I realized was that was actually hindering my progress. Because if I'm going to sit here and talk about community and the importance of it, I can't be a hypocrite and shut out the same people that want to help me. So speaking of shout outs, I want to shout out everybody out there that did reach out that I just didn't get back to or told them just not now, because people, especially when you treat them right, they'll always want to help you and they'll always go to vouch for you. So everybody that did reach out, super appreciative for them. And now that I'm actually able to get back out and I'm post nerve transfer and things are a little bit more stable and all the time sensitive things have been taken care of, I'm doubling back around to say, okay, you were there for me when I needed you. I wasn't able to make it then, but I am now. So now every single week I schedule 2 days to head to the city and I'm getting lunches. I'm stopping by people's cribs. I'm going on like this thank you tour of appreciation to say, I appreciate you for being there when you thought you were just sending a message, but I needed that more than you ever thought.
The beauty of pain is appreciation.
Bars.
Love that. Do you have anything relate on this?
That was it.
That
The
was
beauty
it?
of pain is appreciation.
It's a pretty good last word right there. Gentlemen,
Indeed.
thank you so much. You both are inspirational, and I look forward to continuing our conversation.
Likewise. Thanks
That's right.
for having us, man.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, you can also find us on the Chronic Couch.
The Chronic Couch. And we're out. Hey everyone, thanks for watching the Sam Dever podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@the Sam Dever podcast, and give us a follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. See you soon.